So I want to start maybe we should wait for a few more minutes. But I kind of want to start with a discussion maybe a little because it's been very interesting for me to study genetics. I'm putting together a minus one semester biology class for Merced, and I have to do it like in a month. And so I figured if I start with the topic that I know least about, which is genetics. I have only gotten a little bit of training in the old days or whatever days, um, and so I'm going and reading the 2 semester textbook. Uh, so I know more than the students. Obviously, I should probably know more than that. And so I really engulf myself in the studies. And it's so funny. I find myself fall asleep every time I start reading the book. And so I gotten down to the high school Cliff Notes kind of book that I also bought that shows everything with, you know, um, graphics and sort of bullet points at the end, the essence. And then I also got me these laminated 6-page things that you can buy with the essences of a course on it. You can put in your binder, which also seems to be very helpful. And but then I find myself now doing a lot of YouTube, looking at explaining things, or even use ChatGPT to try to explain and how to make a presentation, which is kind of interesting, but not. I'm not sure if it's fully there yet for all of the parts, or but it's helpful as well. Um, um, but I'm also trying to make some class coursework that is very practical. But because just reading the book seems to be even putting me to sleep. But I also wanted to just since that sort of a process, I wanted to sort of get a little bit of input from you guys, how you guys do the studying of or learning something that suits your guys's application versus just a textbook regurgitated by some situation. Any thoughts to that kind of thing, because it's very interesting for me going through it myself again at this point.
I also tend to look at certain apps that tailor to whatever it is that I'm studying. Like there's a lot of apps for math, for instance, that can help. And even in anatomy, I have a few apps that I bought at very late. It's probably I bought them like 3 weeks ago, and they've been pretty helpful. They're digital, so you can move the entire human body around. You can select. You can even there's a search engine to look for a specific part of the body, and it brings it up automatically, and it tells you the attachment. It tells you the origin. It's pretty nifty.
That's
So
pretty
that's what.
Which one do you like? Do you have one that you like specifically on that?
Yeah, it was a little expensive. Let's see what it's called. It's called. It actually came in a 4-pack. It just says AMP, and there's PNP, and then Atlas and Muscle. There's 4 different apps, so it came like all in one.
And
All in one
okay.
package.
And what was the price point? Do you remember?
It was. I want to say it was like around $50. I want to say, but I'm able to. Like I said, it has the entire anatomy there, which is pretty cool.
No, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I guess maybe. Yeah, no, that's cool. I do Complete Anatomy, which is a year subscription, which is more like an Atlas layer. It doesn't have like I don't know. Haven't looked at testing functions.
Oh yeah, no, I saw that. I saw that. It's pretty cool. I just didn't want to pay for it in an annual basis. I just kind of wanted like a one-off.
It's more for also teaching. I can use it because you can spin things around, and so it's kind of cool that way.
Yeah, so essentially just technology, things like that have helped me quite a bit.
Yeah, no, that I absolutely keep looking for apps. Anybody else? Any thoughts? How are you guys doing the studying these days? Or just whatever the teacher tells you? Yeah, let's see.
I also use app for like the anatomy because I had to change my field completely. So all this like anatomy stuff, it's kind of new to me.
Mm-hmm,
so I did an app, but I can't afford to pay for it. So it's like a free app, but it's 3D as well. So I could move
it around, yeah. And that's already helpful, right? Even the free one is really helpful too, I think. Yeah, because I try to do, I download whenever I find one as well and just play with it. And I find those cool too, especially.
Yeah, same. Like you can search up like a bone or a muscle, and you can also move the body around to see the different muscles. So it's similar.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great too. Any of you guys use YouTube videos to illustrate certain processes or chemical things or physiology concepts?
Yes, I use videos as well. The YouTube is huge. You can look up very, very specific things that you want to learn. So yeah, YouTube is definitely a given, I would say.
Yeah, and my thing, at this point, right? It's funny how that changed the world. It's really kind of cool. And what I sometimes people say, well, but there's so much crap out there. But what I do is I just filter through it, and then when I find a channel, I kind of go with that flow and feel that's pretty a good way of doing it. You guys have a process of how to weed out the good stuff to the bad stuff?
I think that a lot of times it's somewhat easy at times because they're very professionally made. It's not just some guy that made it in his house. Videos from professors. A lot of professors actually use it as well. They make videos as well, but like big companies tend to put videos out as well, and it's very helpful. I know that. What's it called? I think it's called Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica.
Oh yeah, they are good.
Yeah, they have great resources on their website as well.
I also use different channels. Like I like the Amoeba Sisters. There's one channel that uses all the graphics. And then actually I had a student who grew up in France a few semesters ago, and I'm going to start going back to those two. There was cartoon level stuff that actually conceptually wise is really well described. Describing things, but it was on TV in France in the 90s or something like that. It was really cool. So yeah, that's good. I'm also gonna check into the Britannica. Anybody else has some YouTube channel type ideas that are really helping you guys in this class or other classes? I guess I don't think how many people are here. Well, there's 6 of us. Oh, hi, Jessica.
Hello.
Hi, we're just talking about studying things that help us in studying, like YouTube channels or apps. Do you have any experience with that helps you in this class or other classes? I know it's a little out of the thing. I'm just having a little discussion because I'm prepping for a new class and I want to get input from you guys.
So the last test we took, the videos really helped me. I watched them, and I also took the flashcards, and I made flashcards. The visuals helped me a lot, I guess.
Are you using any external YouTube channels that you like, or any apps like anatomy apps? We have some of you guys that use that. I use that too myself. Or not really?
I actually have not used any of those.
Okay, cool.
Yet.
Okay, cool.
I didn't know there was any of those.
Huh?
I didn't know there was any of those kind of apps.
I know, that's why partly I'm bringing up the Como, because I find myself with a lot of things too. It's like, oh, I didn't think of that. That's like right on the tip of my tongue. It should be. But so that's good. No, I'm glad to get some of that input. I really appreciate that. How is the pathology project going? What I'm seeing is great stuff from most of what I'm looking at this point. Anybody needs some help, some support in that process? Or are you guys doing pretty well?
So I don't know if anybody else struggled with putting an audio on Google Slides, but I had problems doing that with my partner.
Well,
we got it figured out last night, and we got it done, but that was a little difficult.
Yeah, but that's why I'm trying to have it do the Zoom thing, like a voiceover video. Have you guys, or did you guys do it straight on the slides?
So yeah, I honestly just looked up how to put a voiceover onto the Google Slides, and I figured out how to add an audio to the slides. So we didn't have to do the Zoom. We were over Zoom when we did it, but we connected the audio all through the slides.
Okay, yeah. Let me take a look at it. I haven't seen yours yet. Yeah, okay. But generally, I'm having students to do it through Zoom, depending. So there's one video, and it's not per slide. You got to click a button every time. But
Okay.
yeah. But it's easier to then have it be a totality of a presentation. But that's okay if we can view it. If it's technically not an issue, then it's not. I'm going to of course take it, and that can be also potentially a different way. But let me have a look at yours. I haven't seen that. I just I thought I graded all of them, but then I found another folder that, or some of you guys I haven't graded yet. Any other questions or concerns, comments about the pathology projects you guys, anybody has now? I also have time after the class as well. So if not, if you do, just interrupt me. If not,
well,
yes,
sir. I am going to finish it.
Mm-hmm.
Probably today. I was waiting for some equipment actually that I really wanted to showcase for my project, and it looks like I'll be getting it today. So I'm very fortunate for that.
Great.
So when I'm doing the audio, is essentially I'm going to be by myself in a Zoom meeting, recording it, sharing my screen, and I'll be able to go through my presentation through that. Is that how essentially how it works?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
That's the easiest. And then you can take that file, record it, either on the cloud, download it, or onto your computer. I think at this point they give you an option, and then from there you can upload it into Studio, which is a prompt down in here.
Oh, perfect. That makes it that much easier.
Yeah, and it's working pretty okay with that. This is sort of the first semester that process sort of is fairly smooth. That way. I'm also, when I'm presenting, I'm using an app called mmhmm.com. And so you can then project yourself inside the screen with a background. And that's kind of cool as well. Some old student recommended that to me. Then you're not just a box on top. But that's the next sort of, if you do a lot of Zooms, then it makes sense to do something like that.
I for some reason thought that it was like some sort of TikTok thing. I was like, because that's what TikTok does. It imposes your
It's interesting. A lot of these things are actually even usable more on even the smaller devices. And it's like it's so much. It's just software at this point. The hardware is also good already. So yeah. Does that if you want to know more about that, just text me. We could talk about it or so if you just play around with it. But that's great. Yeah, if you're with any of the late stuff, I'm going to take stuff on the lates out, so we're not having the lates influence your grade negatively just because it's sort of keeping everybody going. So that the same with this presentation. We now have two weeks to finish up the discussion with it, and so the deadline was yesterday officially. So if you finish the presentation, I want you to go to, actually it's in week 16, I think, next week. I should put it in week 15, but right here, then you go to this prompt. Can you guys see my background as the weeks? Can you see that, the discussion?
Yeah.
All right, good. Then you go to this prompt, and I just want everybody to upload your video, not just one per group on this. I want everybody to upload their video, the group video that you have, if you do, or individual, and then describe briefly in a paragraph or so what the video is about, and then highlight a few things why people should watch that video. Try to sell it a little bit. Highlight something that's really good that you think you really focused on in your version of the video, or as a group as well. And the paragraph for that, and then upload it, and then you view each other's and do some commentary on it. You learn some by viewing, but also I want to have everybody give each other one tip of how to make the presentation even better. Like, and I think, if you take it from this is positive critique type stuff. So this is delicate stuff. It's very difficult to hear critical stuff. And then in reviewing classes, we learned a sandwich methodology where you go like you praise what the person did, because all of you guys did a fantastic presentation. What I'm seeing, I'm really, really impressed. Every semester, I'm very impressed how you guys learn, or how you already do that, bring information out of some website and then present it in a way that somebody's interested in watching it. Anyway. So first you talk about something good about what people are doing, and then you critique the product. And for example, and here for me often it will be like, if you talk a little slower, it will be easier to understand. And then if I say that way, it's also easier to hear. In a positive way, it's easier to hear if I say like, "Wow, you talk too fast. That's why it's hard to understand." Which is what I have. One of my sort of flaws things is the speed of that presenting stuff. But then put it in a positive, and then you finish up with what you already do is put it in a positive. Why that would be great and how to do that. Like, something's too fast, you slow it down a little bit, for example, pace yourself. And so I want everybody to sort of have one of those, critiques or things to make it better, and tell the people you're watching their video of. And you do that to two people. And then I think everybody gets, to learn a lot about different pathologies. We have a pretty good spectrum of things we've done. And also we who did it learn a little bit about how to make it a little better next time. But again, you guys are doing fantastic. I'm really, really happy with what all the things I'm watching. And I can't wait to get off this phone and watch some more, or the Zoom. And then, so that's then the next step. So as soon as you get it done, just then go to week 16 and start working, uploading on that. But I give it 2 weeks because then, this week is still finishing up projects and videos. All right. Any more questions about the pathology project to finish that up? If not, if they come up, just speak into me, interrupt me. If not, we're going to go right to the week. And this week, we're going to have nutrition.
Did you ask a question?
No, I just asked if you guys are having more questions about doing the pathology project, like doing the video of it. Right. Okay. Now, I can also stay after class to finish up. Then you can, if you have individual questions, you can also ask them. And what we're doing this week, is we're going to go to nutrition. So last week we finished this is history. I've retired this suit now. Last week we did the digestive system. And then this week I want to take it a little bit further and talk a little bit about nutritional concepts, how food goes into energy, and how and what a calorie is, and so forth, and then talk about the different macronutrients a little bit, and about the sugar spike as well, and then a little bit about the micronutrients. There's a lot of pictures in the booklets on those things, not that many pictures on here, but also the video is also with pictures. And then talk about, micronutrients, the vitamins, the minerals. The macronutrients are your proteins, your fats, and the carbohydrates. And so how what sources to get them from, what to eat, and what's sort of common sense nutrition, because nutrition stuff is not really that hard. It gets hard when it gets all clinical, but when you look at nutrition, people who talk about diet and stuff, I mean, it can get complicated because you have these things you have to buy. But if you look at a good Mediterranean diet with a lot of fruits and vegetables, you're pretty well set. And so this gives you sort of an overview, textbook kind of version of that level of nutrition. And then here, the vitamins and the minerals. I got some tables. I don't memorize these tables, but I have them with me so I can look things up depending on if I have questions. But generally, vitamins and minerals is best gotten through something as natural as possible. And if you take a supplement, then at least try to make sure if the ingredients are things you understand, like Brussels sprouts, and not things that are just chemical, weird words that you don't understand unless you look them up, or I don't. And then I talk also a little bit about active plant substances, how important it is, even though I know we have depleted soils, and that's a challenge. So there, the organic comes in a little bit, and the freshness as much as possible. But also, we have so many things we have in plants that we don't have in our tablet form supplement things. And the example is the tomato, who has like 10,000 different substances. But we don't really know that many of them that we have studied. And then we don't even know as many as we put into supplements. And so that's just a discussion about making a case for eating fresh stuff versus eating just pills and TV dinner type stuff. And when we look at the lastly here in this chapter, we talk about the fiber, and the fiber is very important, and that's why we have a whole section on it. The fiber helps the sugar get extracted slower from the food, and so it really helps with balancing blood sugar out. And that's one of the big, besides, it helps people poop well and actually have a stool every day and not just every 3 or 4 days. And so those are a few reasons why fiber is very important and very helpful. So those are sort of the main concepts. I put it in a little video format up here, and then we have a questionnaires with it that talks about it. And I think by then you pretty have the basic ideas of the nutrition sort of stuff. And then if you take a nutrition class, you got to have a good starting point. Also look. Actually, I don't know how many questions I have on the test on nutrition, but look at the bullets in the last portion here, test 3. Look at that, we're coming up real fast. Under the review, look at in there what is really on the test itself, because we're getting up to the test pretty quick. And so you want to focus your studies. You want to understand the things that we talk about, like nutrition is very cool to understand, very important, but you want to focus your studies, you're memorizing, you're really organizing your data to what the test is about. And we're coming up pretty quickly onto the test. So I want you to really start looking at that bullet point test review. And also then we have the question, the anatomy terms in there as well. And that's on the labeling exercises. We got 1 this week. Nutrition doesn't have 1. We have 1 this week and we have 2 next week. And that, 1 next week. That's it. We don't have 1 on embryology. So the terms are getting lesser and lesser. So you should be okay. And then the other thing on the test, I can start telling you now that you've all been studying well, the anatomy portion of the test is also multiple choice. So that should make it real easy. You don't have to spell it out right. You don't have to type it in. You just have to choose the right answer from the list. That doesn't mean you don't have to study for it and make sure, because the brain is kind of complicated and the heart, but it makes it a little bit more easygoing when you take the test. And so you have to choose something. You don't have to write it out and spell it out. So that should be yes.
Somebody just texted like the group chat and was asking if the video, like what happens if the video is too long?
Oh, that's all right. I'm not going to worry
Okay.
about that because inevitably, like I have one video that was quite long, and you listen to it, and he just goes into real good detail. And
Okay.
that's these videos. It's like you guys are doing such a good job. They're very unique, but every one I'm watching, I get something out of it that really is helpful to know. And some of them are really a personal experience, like the one that I sent you that was on diabetes. That was fantastic, just from that experience. And then I had one that was quite long this semester, but it was really really good and detailed, and I was just very very impressed, and I learned a lot. So don't worry if it's a little longer than what it's subscribed or what I want to be you guys' stuff too. You got to keep your uniqueness in these things. We don't need uniformity too much. We just need some guidelines. Anyway, the second topic that we're going to talk, John, did that help? Is that Jessica or who was that?
Yeah, that was me. It wasn't me that was asking it. Somebody texted it.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
look at texts. It's hard for me to focus on one thing and not be too scattered. So then, yeah, if that's not enough, then just text again. And if you keep watching on it, Jessica, that would be great. But then the second topic this week is the function, it's the kidneys, the urinary system, is how we create the pee and how we filter the blood through the kidneys, and then we get rid of stuff that we don't want. When we get rid of a lot of water, obviously that's good. But the blood goes, the kidneys are here behind the ribs, the lower ribs. You can see them visualized right in here, and then here we talk briefly about the blood flow, because the blood gets filtered, so you have the blood go through it. So there are all these different names, but basically the blood comes into the kidneys, goes up these channels, goes around these inverted pyramidal type structures, and from there you have all these little filtering systems that are here, where the blood gets all capillary level, where it's all sieved through, everything goes out except few bigger things, they stay behind, and medication. So the macromolecule stuff sort of stays behind, the micro goes over the smaller stuff. It's a lot of liquid, and then it goes into this tube thing, and inside this tube thing, most of this liquid gets reabsorbed back into the bloodstream. And so you have this filtering reabsorption type process. And then that happens as this tube goes down deeper and deeper towards this funnel structure down in here, where then the urine gets collected. And this structure here gets saltier and saltier as we go deeper and deeper down into it. And saltier also means more liquid gets pulled out if it's salty. You can see that when you slice a tomato, put the salt kernel on top of the tomato, within a pretty fast time, you have water filling it up, and you have and the salt disappears, and so salt attracts water. So the more salty it gets as we go down towards that funnel, the more of the liquid gets pulled out of the tube into the space out here, but then it gets reabsorbed into the bloodstream and gets carried back to the blood system altogether, the circulatory system. So that's kind of weird stuff, but that's sort of the quick of the end of all. Does that level of explaining make sense to you guys so far?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so good. Then because keep that sort of in mind, because once the language gets harder with like how does this salty environment get created and so forth, I always feel myself in my studies, if I keep that overarching picture in mind, it makes it easier to fill in the pieces. And so that's how the blood filters most of its liquids and then gets reabsorbed back into the bloodstream, the circulatory system. And then a third process that we do as we go towards this end here, towards this end, is we extract medication and bigger molecules out with active transport into this filtrate, which is the liquid they call it a filtrate. And then from down here where this tube finishes is when we go down here into the ureter, and then we go to the bladder, and then we pee it out. And these are funnels that we drip the urine in. All these funnels have the name calyces. It's kind of be one of those names you're going to learn. And then it fills it, it drips it into the ureter and then into the bladder. But the third process is particles or medications or so forth that get transported from the blood into the liquid actively and can get excreted out from the body. So you also excrete substances you want to get rid of that are fluid, liquid bound through the system, through the kidneys out into the world. You can poop out stuff, you can pee out stuff, and you can breathe out stuff. So those are like the solid, the liquid, and the fluid things you can get rid of in our system. So that's pretty neat as a system. And we then next week we're gonna go in the classroom and you're gonna dissect the kidney, and that's also kind of neat how this tissue is different from this tissue is different from this tissue kind of thing. So that'll be a interesting feeling experience for the ones who show up and can make it to the lab. And then the other thing that happens in the kidneys, we also have a system of hormones that gets started and secreted. The kidney is a good place to monitor blood pressure because you get this, vessel bringing the blood in, and then if the blood pressure is too strong, is too high, we have a measuring device here. We can pick up and we can then secrete a hormone, renin, into the bloodstream, and along the way, it decreases the blood volume, and it relaxes the blood vessels. With this angiotensin is a tensing mechanism, and aldosterone is a mechanism of how to get rid of sodium, and water follows sodium. So that's also a very interesting thing. But one of the concepts there again is salt, which is sodium chloride. So salt, water follows salt. And so the part of the salt that follows is the sodium. So whenever you get sodium from one side to the other, out of a tube into the space outside the tube into the bloodstream, you're gonna have water follow that. So water, H2O follows that thing. So sodium and water, you put that together, and so we have this mechanism that works on that sodium water pulling mechanism as well. You also have the hormone, the ANTP hormone, antidiuretic hormone that comes straight from the hypothalamus into the pituitary gland, and then works on these vessels here. We talked about that in the endocrine system. It works on these collecting ducts, they're called down here, and they bring the fluid down into the ureter. These collecting ducts, it works directly on the water molecules and brings it into brings it out of the collecting duct back into the space and into the blood vessel. And you can feel that hormone when it's missing or low, because when you drink coffee and you got to go pee all the time, that minimizes that use of that hormone in the body. It's the same as with alcohol. It's the same as well. So we can actually feel, that's one of the hormone changes we can feel. So that's kind of interesting. But that also helps, not when it doesn't work, but it helps regulate blood volume. And blood volume ultimately helps regulate blood pressure. That's why the salt thing with what we did with the high blood pressure has to do with this as well. And so that's why that's involved as well, that salt water mechanism. All right. That's pretty good for that, I think. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Good. So I think that's good enough. We have a few questions to it, and then, you watch some of the videos, you get more of an understanding to it. You do some labeling of the kidney thing, and then that's it for this week, as far as I'm concerned. And then just if you finish your video, go to week 16 and start uploading into the discussion. You can sort of start doing that during the next 2 weeks, because watching each other takes a little bit of time too. So start that. Don't do that last minute if you can.